Hello, wake up, Fanny. Hello and welcome to Motivation and Money with me, Mark Terrell, and my co-host, Fanny Snaith. Fanny, how are
Hello,
you?
hello. I was miles away. I'll be honest with you. I was listening to the music going, and I was just thinking, and I was just I drifted off for a bit.
It's
Sorry about
mesmerising, isn't it?
that. Yeah,
Anyway, we've been away for a few weeks, so we're back, which is good. Looking forward to today's show, whatever you want to
yeah.
call it, our episode. Today, I come up with this idea around being pulled in two different directions, and the reason why I thought it was a good thing to talk about is it's obviously fits in with motivation and money, I think, and also it comes up a lot with my clients with regards to they have to make decisions about what they want. It comes up in their motivational map in that they might have what we call an internal conflict. Basically, the two motivations are taking them in two different directions, and that's what's causing them to get stuck because they keep can't decide whether they want one thing or the other. So, to give an example,
Mm,
they might want freedom and belonging at the same time. So, when you're moving towards freedom and autonomy, that sort of indicates that you want to be work on your own and
mm-hmm.
make your own decisions and not be having to be influenced by others. Being part and belonging is more about being part of a group, listening to others, and working with others. So they're sort of two different things. So that's one that comes up quite a bit. And
Mm-hmm.
also there's being in charge, being and also wanting to belong at the same time. So that comes up. So it's difficult to be in charge and belong to a group, so to your team.
Yeah.
That comes up quite a lot. So I thought it's a great subject to sort of think about. And with regards to money, I'm sure you've got some views on how it comes up in your client work.
Well, I thought that was really interesting what you just said, actually, because as you know, I've just done my motivational map.
You have?
Very insightful it was too. And my top motivator was creator, which is great, which then intimates that it's quite nice to work on one's own spirit also for freedom and to have your own autonomy and all that kind of stuff. And then for me, relationships was lower down. And actually, I do have a yearning for more relationships at work, but I find it quite difficult in the position that I'm in. So it's exactly what you've just said.
Hmm. Yeah.
So it's uh, I think then. So what do I do? What do we do with that then?
So
How would
it's
you?
just
I
one of
mean,
those dilemmas we get in business. So we've got to make a decision. So just by having the information to hand, it
yeah,
sort of crystallizes it. So right, okay, so yeah, that is those things that I want. So when I just talked about like freedom and belonging at the same time, it doesn't mean that you can't make it happen in your business. So the ideal sort of scenario for someone that wants freedom and also wants to feel that they belong would
yeah,
be as a business concept a membership, because you have your freedom to do things your own way. Memberships are can be set up so they're not particularly time. They don't take up a lot of your time, and so you can set it up to suit you. And you feel that you belong because you're serving people and you're meeting with people, and it feels like you're almost just part of the team as opposed to just
yeah,
sending out information.
yeah. That's true. So that's a bit like me delivering my courses online,
Hmm. Yeah.
where we meet once a week. No, it is. It's. I think life is pretty much about a series of dilemmas, isn't it? Really,
Yeah.
of making choices, making decisions,
Yep.
and deciding whether to do the work. I think actually deciding whether to really dig into something and actually find out what the problem is rather than just that feeling of feeling uneasy about something. I think
Yeah.
that's a first step, isn't it?
Yeah.
Um, and then the second thing is that once you've discovered a little bit more about what the issue is,
Mm.
then making that decision is about which way to go.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, but just being able to sort of put it into some sort of language as well. Again, that's where
Mm,
motivational maps are really useful. So
yeah.
somebody recently completed a map, and they were talking about that their business was becoming something that they weren't particularly enjoying. So they started to look like maybe I should get a job as opposed to running a business. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's nothing wrong if you decide that. I know a number of people that have decided actually running a business isn't for me. But she looked at that, but by looking at her motivational map, she realised actually that wouldn't solve what she was feeling. It probably would make things worse. So what she realised was, and it crystallised the fact that she just needed to be a bit more specific about who she wanted to work with and in what way, and make sure that those boundaries were set with regards to what I do, so she didn't feel as if she was being treated as an employee as opposed to someone that's supplying a service to somebody. Yeah. And there's a subtle difference, but it makes a massive difference when you it's how you feel about your business. If you feel that you're just doing stuff that's just thrown at you and you have to do things that you don't really want to do, then it becomes like a job, and you don't really want that.
And, I remember as well, I've spoken about it before, back in 2019, when I was feeling quite out of sorts with the change of life and all those kind of things. And I fell out of love with a lot of things, including my business. And my answer was I went and got a job at Sainsbury's behind the till for 3 months for Christmas. And the interesting part of that is, and if again looking at my motivational map, which I've just done, because I'm the creator and the spirit, the last thing I want to do is to be tied to a till and hours and rules, and you can't wear those shoes, you've got to wear those shoes, and all that kind of stuff. So the novelty wore off very quickly, but it served a purpose for a moment. It showed me that I don't want to do that, so it was quite good. But exactly. I think the thing is with all of us is taking the time to actually pull these things apart. And what I find is I hear a lot of people saying that they're not happy, but not necessarily finding the solutions. So for instance, we often ask ourselves, and I've said this before, why did I do that? Why do I keep doing what I keep doing that's making me feel not satisfied, unhappy, whatever? And I think one of the first problems is that we don't actually answer the question. We just go, oh, well, that's how it is, isn't it? We'll just carry on. But doing all this work through things like the motivational maps, money type quizzes, or whatever we do, finding our motivations is just taking that extra little step that can give you that aha moment that says, that's what I need to do.
Yeah. And it's about fulfilling those things as well, taking action around those things. Right, okay, that's what I want, and I need to now put some sort of plan in place. And you'll notice in your motivational map there's a page that last but one page is an action plan where you use your map to make it into a working document. So it's set some goals and set some actions that are in line with the things that you want to do. And that's the good thing, that they should be things that you really resonate with. And should be things that you can stick to, most importantly.
Well, interestingly as well, so I'm having a real push me pull you at the moment, going through like real transition of life. So both my daughters will have moved out properly by middle of September. Like awful. The thought of it just I'm going to miss them. Well, Connie's already gone, but Ren's going to go off to university mid-September, and it's going to feel so weird that they're not going to be coming home every day at some point or whatever. So I've been using my motivations, I guess. I've taken the decision that from now until sort of middle of September, I'm on the real low, on the low key as far as work is concerned. And then there's a part of me that goes, you can't do that. And then there's another part of me that goes, well, actually, look, you've created this thing and it's fine, and you can, you just do this. Just allow yourself to do it. So again, that's a bit of a push me pull you that's actually going probably against my motivators in a way. However, it's something that I really, really want to do. But actually, one of the things in my motivational map, it said about, was it a creator or the spirit, take some time out or even a year out to do something different.
Take a sabbatical. Take a sabbatical. Yeah, that's always just an interesting conversation I have when I'm working with clients, and then you get that come out as a suggestion to somebody that works in an organisation. You think, Yeah, but it doesn't actually say that you've got to go and do that. This is an option. It's probably not right for you, as you know, you're working in an organisation that needs you to sort of be there. But it makes you think that maybe you need just a weekend away might be enough, just to give you some time
Yeah,
to think.
exactly. Maybe a weekend away,
Yeah.
But it is interesting because I think this. What was the title? Was it Feeling Pulled in Different Directions?
Mm. Yeah.
I mean, seriously, with everything that goes on these days and work and all that kind of stuff, I think most of us feel pulled in different directions most of the time.
Yeah.
But it's not okay to just sit with it, is it?
Well, no. Obviously you give yourself some time to think about these things and see what's important to you. And I think having a plan around, well, there's a lot going on in the world at the moment, isn't there? And we haven't really talked about people's reactions to in money terms with regards to how we might want security, but actually be by sort of saving money, but at the same time we want to be sort of creative and new ideas, which means spending money at the same time, and you get
Yeah.
that push pull, don't you? I'm sure that comes up in when you
But
talk about your archetypes.
yeah, absolutely. And every single time in the group program that I run, we have so I haven't got any time. Okay. So we sort of dig into that, and we work out that their motivation, is just not behind this as much as it is about something else, because obviously they've got the same amount of time as anybody else. So it's just choosing what's the most important thing to spend time on. And yet it's that weird push me pull you effect again, that you really, really want to get a result and be happy with how you're managing your finances and be clear about where you are financially so that you can make choices. It's very difficult to make choices when you're without clarity.
Yeah.
And yet they can't seem to do this in order to get that clarity that's going to open up this whole new life for them.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, when they think about the mind space that it takes them thinking, oh, I haven't got time, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, when you're actually sort of talking about procrastination, you spend more time thinking and procrastinating about it than you actually would if you're just sitting down and just get on with the job.
Yeah. And there's so many ways to help us make better decisions, with diagnostic tools and apps that will keep us on track with regards to money. And I've been using Noom because I wanted to lose some weight. So I mean that
Oh, did
tracks.
you like that?
Yeah, it's great. I'm still using it. It's because it tracks four things. It tracks what you eat, so calories. It tracks your activities, the way how much movement you do, water.
Right.
And what's the other thing? There's the other thing, but I can't remember what it is now. Anyway.
Sleep?
No, sleep's not on there, but because it's very difficult to track it. I suppose they can, but they do talk about sleep as something that's really important. Gosh, what is it now? So calories. Anyway, hopefully it'll come to me before the end. But I mean, just having those things to keep you on track and accountable make a massive difference, and opens your eyes to the decisions that you are making with regards, especially with like calories. So it really rises up when you're tracking what you're consuming, and then it's like everything. And if you do it once, then it's easy to repeat it, because if you put something in that you've had before, then it suggests it anyway. So it comes quicker and quicker.
The same meal for 3 months.
No. I have pretty much the same breakfast every morning. But it's surprising how just by adding a tablespoon of this and a tablespoon of that suddenly adds on another 150 calories. And when you're trying to stick to 2,000, that takes a big chunk out of it. So you have to make choices. Everything's about making choices, isn't it? When you spend or save money.
But at the root of it all, then, at the root of everything, when you're the only way that you can make a sensible choice is to be informed.
Yeah.
And the only way that you can be informed is to have clarity. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
So what we're talking about here is just generally, being much, much more mindful about everything that we do.
Yeah, mindful, disciplined, whatever you want to call it, really, isn't it? I mean, I'm sure what you teach your clients is about discipline and evaluating their decisions around how they, manage their money and all those things that might not be serving them.
Yeah.
So it's about that, and adding the consequences of not following the plan. The consequences are that you won't reach the goals that you've set yourself.
Yeah. And also it's interesting as well that when people make a decision to do something like join a program, set up an app like Noom or something like that, or join Money Dash. I'm going to do this Money Dashboard. I'm going to do this part of it. And then ordinary life takes over again, and they're back at square one, and nothing's happened.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the time really to really push into it and go, well, why was it so important to me a week ago last Wednesday, and for some reason today I'm just giving it a whitewash and I'm not bothering with it.
Yeah. I think now we were talking about Joe Dispenza the other day, weren't we?
Yeah.
And he talks about environment. So there's lots of things that affect our environment, and one of those people are the people that surround us, the people we come across, and the influences we have around what we hear and what people are saying to us, and controlling that environment's important, isn't it? So that we don't get put off by the news or just some mates that just say, I don't know why you're bothering, those sort of things. They can make one thing might not make a difference, but accumulation of those things can really sort of put you off track and think, oh yeah, actually I don't know why I'm really bothering.
Which is why when you make those decisions, or when you're trying to make choices, it has to really come from within. And it has to come from the place where you want to end up rather than where you are.
Yeah.
Because all of those environments, our environment is challenging to us. Every day we go out there and we're going to be challenged by something. I was going to say arsehole then.
Oh, you've said it now.
Somebody in a car who does parks at you, and we could get affected by all of these things. So it's about learning that it's internal resilience, so that you can help to get yourself resilient towards those things. Which is when then you suppose you're living in faith, trust and balance. It's almost like, I'm not going to say it's going to be like becoming a robot, but it is about studying the causal stuff, cause and effect of everything, and how it affects us on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
So I do this, it causes me to do that. That makes me happy or not happy. So what do I have to do in order to do that? But if one is in, like, what do we call it, low-level thinking, like you can't see the wood for the trees, you're just literally scurrying about in your day-to-day life, it's very difficult to change that direction. So the thing to do, or the thing I find to do, is to stop and elevate yourself. Like pretend that you're going onto the roof of some building and look down onto the whole city and go, so if I actually went round that building and did that, then I can get to point B. So you actually can see a route to get where you want, and then also look back the other way. Because if not, of course your environment's going to drag you back to where you were in the first place. But we could also put another little complicated thing into the mix. But is our environment what we've created through our own habits in the first place?
Yeah, well, I was going to say that. I mean, that's about what we've created. Part of that is what we've allowed to accumulate around us, and the influences we have. So yeah, absolutely. I think we can influence
that's
our
the
environment.
Scary part, isn't it?
It's what?
That's the scary part.
Yeah.
I've heard people say to me before that they realize, like for instance addicts and stuff like that, who have got into the one thing that they have to do is they have to lift themselves out of their environment and go and put themselves somewhere completely different in order to stay out of that. People who go to prison, I know it's quite extreme, but people who go to prison, when they come back out of prison, if they go back to home, it could be really easy.
Old habits.
So it's about actually moving our minds and our environment to being completely different and not being able to go back to that thing.
Yeah.
Don't know, we've moved away a little bit, haven't we?
We have certainly
Moved
gone
into a different
away from
direction.
the initial sort of
But it is,
conversation topic.
it is the sort of the method of which you approach it, though, isn't it? How you're going to operate when you feel pulled.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think if you go back to the 9 motivations, and you know which ones are the most important to you. You know, we were talking beforehand about, I was surprised what your lowest was. And we don't need to say what that is, but I was surprised, but because I would have thought that would have been at least in your top, top half, for it to be the lowest, and we discussed why that might be. So when we think about those 9 motivations, there's no good or bad. There's no good motivational map or good motivational map. It's just in context. Is it helping you, or are you able to achieve what you want to do, given that you are motivated by those things? Are you heading in the right direction? Do they help you? And I do a lot of work with regards to, when we do a motivational map and a person's working in an organisation, one of the first questions I ask is, how are your top 3 motivations being fulfilled in your work? So it's going back to our influencing the environment, but making sure that we're making decisions based on the things that we want. If we can make decisions based on things that we are wanting, then you are more likely to achieve them. And it sort of, and even if you have that sort of conflict, which I explained, you can start making decisions around, well, okay, so another scenario might be if you've run in a business for a long time and you've had director is one of your motivators, so in other words, being in charge and influencing others is something that you're driven by, but also you want freedom. It's very difficult to have responsibility and freedom. So you to think to yourself, well, how am I going to create more freedom? Because that's probably what I'm going to want more of going forward, and less responsibility and power over others. So I have to make a conscious decision how I start releasing some of that power and influence and start delegating better and learning new skills to allow that to happen. And a lot of it is around just allowing that process to happen, because we might have got to a point in our business which was really, we see ourselves as being quite successful. To change what we've been doing for many years, you think, well, why would I change something? It's working. That's old scenario. Don't change what something that isn't broke. But if something inside you is just not really, not feeling it anymore, and you think, well, how much longer have I got to do it like this? You've got to release it some way. You've got to allow yourself to do something different, and by setting a direction. I mean, that's what I like about motivational maps. Maps set a direction, but you can change course whenever you want to, can't you? I mean, not just because you've got a map in your lap doesn't mean you've got to stick
doesn't
to
mean
that.
say you've got to follow it.
No, so you can decide to change if you want to.
You can take a detour as well. So for me, the way I see it is, so if creator and spirit were my top 2, what was my third? Oh no, creator, spirit, and expert. That was it. Yeah. So my view is that to take a little bit of time out, but not time out, just time out from relentlessly, from trying to get customers and all that kind of stuff. I'm just taking a bit of time out from that. And I'm going to go and make sure that I create the best life to set my daughter up for her uni time and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And it doesn't mean to say that everything stops, but it's just allowing yourself to go, actually, I'm just going to hop off that treadmill and try and make it life a little bit more fun and a little bit more of a game, and just go off and create something else. Yeah,
I mean, it's creating new sort of routines, isn't it? You're used to your daughters sort of walking in the door, and you see them, and they might speak to you, or they might not. But it's great. Well, how can I create something similar? It's not like them walking through the door, but actually, how can we, maybe get together and have a 4-way, 3-way, whatever FaceTime on a regular basis? So we sort of get that sort of routine into, we still keep connected, because that's, I
Yeah.
mean, you've lived together for a long time, so that empty nest syndrome is something that really hits people hard, because it's
Mm.
been with you so many years, sort of
Yeah.
18, 19 years.
Well, it's end of an era, isn't it? Really,
Yeah,
they're on their own, and the other part of it is that I don't have the excuse. I won't have the excuse anymore when one of them comes in to go, oh, I got to take a bit of a break for now. So I'm going to have to reorganise that. All sorts of things. So it's very interesting.
yeah.
I
So
tell you, there are a couple of people who are being pulled in different directions at the moment, and these two conservative leader candidates, aren't they?
Isn't it interesting? Yeah, they're obviously vying to take the top job, but the one's talking about not giving tax cuts, and
Well,
then
he's changed his
changed his
mind now.
mind, and then all he's doing is talk about tax cuts. So it's about winning your audience, isn't it? In that
It's
sense.
really, and all of this. And can you imagine the rest of the Conservative Party as well, or the ministers? And so they are the ones that are sort of helping to choose who they're going to be, and the ones that are asking questions and all this kind of thing. So how do they play it? Do they literally say what they really feel is true, or do they just literally play into the hand of the one that they think is going to give them the best job?
Exactly.
It's
Who
really
knows what they're
difficult.
thinking? Yeah.
I mean, who was the guy? Who was the guy that's now not in the running? Who said that what we need to change and we need to get rid of everybody and start again?
I don't know. I've not heard that.
He was the he's got he was in the army,
Oh,
and
right.
he was
Okay.
an army leader. I think his name was David somebody, and he was basically saying what we need is we need change, complete change. You can't trust anybody at the top of them now. You've got to basically start again and do all this. And I'm thinking, hang on a minute, you're trying to get your people's votes to get you to be the leader. Why on earth would anybody vote for you when you're basically saying that if I got in, the whole cabinet would go? It's just not going to happen, is it?
Yeah, how to win friends and influence people. Yeah, I'm not really going to work,
Exactly.
is it? No. But I
Exactly.
mean, it's in principle it sounds good, but in reality, it's not going to get
Well,
you
not to
in
that
the seat, is
audience.
it? That's the thing.
Well, not to that audience.
No.
Not when you're trying to get people in the government to vote for you,
Yeah.
and you're on your side, and you're saying you've all got to go. It's like,
Exactly. Anyone tuning in now? This is not a political show, by the way. This is
no. It's not political. No, it's about being tugged in two different
two
directions. Because I
direction.
mean,
Yeah.
he must have thought about that, mustn't he? He must have thought, well, really, this is what we need to do. Or I could just go and toe the party line, get in, and then do something else. I don't know. It's all very complicated.
It
But
is.
again, it's about. I think it's everything. All of this is about being mindful, being honest with yourself, taking high-level vertical thinking, and understanding the choices that you have before you're making before you make the choices.
Brilliant. I think that's a great summing up of what we just discussed. As always, Fanny, you're great at this summing up. So before we go, is there anything that you want to shout about?
Is there anything I want to shout about? Only in the fact that I'm going to be putting out some posts soon to partner with my charity trek that I'm doing in October. Unfortunately, I can't set up a Just Giving page because the charity that I've chosen to promote is called Lend with Care, which is micro lending to unbanked people in countries where they just can't get access to a bank account.
Right.
So the way that it works is that you can donate or give 15 quid, I think is the minimum, and you lend it to somebody who wants to buy a motorbike, or they might want to, it's not for fun motorbike, to ride around their farm, or they might want to buy some sheep or some goats, or something else, or go into a different kind of part of agriculture, etc. And you lend them the money, and then you watch them, you watch their progress, and they pay back the loan eventually. And then, so it's all about micro lending. But because it's a loan rather than a gift, I can't just set up a charity page.
Right.
So I'm going to be posting about Lend with Care and promoting it because I think it's wonderful. I think it's such a wonderful thing to do.
Brilliant. Yeah, do that. I'm interested. And small amounts can go a long way in those environments, can't they?
Exactly.
Yeah. Fantastic.
And obviously, the loan that they ask for is like £3,000-4,000 or whatever. but you don't have to lend that as an individual. They'll do
Yeah.
a bit like a peer-to-peer lending sort of thing.
Brilliant stuff. Yeah, I mean, and obviously that lens with regards to making a difference. One of the things I wrote about today on my post on LinkedIn was about making a difference being a key motivator for me, and connecting to an outcome, making a difference, those sort of things. I'm signed up to B1 G1, so whenever a client buys something
Yeah.
from me, then I provide something else. So for instance, when I released my book back in December, for everyone that bought one, I provide a meal to someone in the world, and so
Oh.
those sort of things add to what you can, the difference you can make with your
Mm.
business.
Mm.
So there we
Yeah,
are.
really, really good.
Excellent. Right. Well,
Good.
great. Thank you, Fanny, for your time today. Really enjoyed it.
Nice to
If
be
you
back.
catch this on a replay, pops up on your feed, then please feel free to comment. We'll pick up any comments and reply to them. But until the next time, I'll say cheerio from me.
And cheerio from him.
See you.